Undercover Policing Inquiry. We're listening to more from HN109, the Spycops manager from the late 80s. Me and Dave did a video at lunchtime. The sound didn't work. It was with a microphone.
We were sensational earlier.
Oh my God, there were so many good points.
It's a shame that you all missed it.
Yeah, get it. Dave, what have you made of it?
Blimey, well this morning he was questioned about a wide range of things, not to much depth, and he just gave vague and sort of throwaway answers, and it wasn't followed up, and we didn't really get any wiser. It was a bit frustrating, but there were some really important issues about the use of deceased children's identities, about the purpose of visits from high up commissioners in the Metropolitan Police to the SDS safe houses,
dishonesty of the field officers to the management. There was a whole bunch about that, and embezzling the expenses.
What else was there this morning?
Scott.
Oh, the Scott affair, and how that almost destroyed the SDS because one of the officers had gone rogue, it seemed, but it seemed there were reasons for that. There seemed to be some kind of power struggle going on inside.
About how that
could have destroyed the SDS, and
very
was
much
talking about closing it down.
A lot about how the officers didn't really trust him because of the Scott affair, because basically it seems like HN109 was the one who forced Scott out, and a lot of the other officers didn't like it because Scott was the top dog.
The thing actually that has not really kind of been latched on about that is that the inquiry has already ruled that in the 1970s, just after the SDS had been formed, it should have been closed down.
The late 60s,
and there was opportunities to review the tactics and the effectiveness of what it was doing. And those opportunities were missed. And the same thing happened in, 1987, 1988. A review was commissioned, and they deliberately didn't have the question, should we really be doing what we should be doing? Should this unit be wound up? And in fact, I think you put this out yesterday, that they called in sort of heads of other squads, and two of them said it should continue, and one of them said, no, it should be closed down. So, but when the review was done, that question wasn't on the card. So
one of the things,
another opportunity lost to prevent all the suffering and the waste of taxpayers' funding and all the shocking things that this squad did following the late 80s.
But there was one thing that was just before lunch. HN109 was asked to write down. He said that there were certain officers who exaggerated in their reports, and he was asked, could he write down, because it was unreliable, exaggerated. He said, could you write down the names of those officers who you felt were like that? Now we've only heard one of the names that he wrote down on that piece of paper.
Bob Lambert.
No surprises there.
So no surprises there, because obviously a lot of his reports are fantasy. They, of course, completely miss out on the fact that he had all these relationships with women and he fathered a child, so he was clearly lying to his superiors about what he was doing.
That he was inside an ALF cell, that he was inside a cell?
Yeah, he was part of a cell. He was trying to pretend that he wasn't responsible for the Debenhams,
Incendiary
Devices campaign, when he clearly was, and so on. And one of the tactics he used in his reports was that he substituted other people's names for his own. So if he attended a meeting where the Incendiary Devices campaign was being discussed, his name's not there, but he put someone else's name there. And in this case, it was Helen Steele.
So the case he's talking about was about the meeting, supposedly, that happened in Islington with a Liverpool comrade that was on the same day as this meeting happened. He's got Helen Steele as being there meeting this comrade with Paul Gravitt, but there's also a report from John Dines saying that Helen Steele was in
Yorkshire, not in Islington. So these two reports from two different officers had her in two different places at the same time. So, and that's just an example that should have sent red flags flashing or whatever they're doing, flying. So he was questioned about a series of reports.
Yes, just to say quickly though, there's a lot of these reports are covered by reporting restriction orders, so we can't mention what they're about. There's a lot of the example we used about Helen Steele being in North Yorkshire or being in London at the same time is the only example of any of that sort of behaviour that we can actually talk about. So that's why we keep referring to it. There's lots of other examples of him using other people's names in other places, doing other things we can't talk about. So just to make sure you don't inadvertently mention any of those.
Yes. So I mean, where are we now? This guy's quite a senior guy. He went on to a very senior career in the police. We think we don't know who he is. We can't say who he is.
We can't speculate.
And we can't speculate. And he has a very good overview, but he's clearly covering up. He has a few little quirky issues, but he certainly has made some statements about what he started off saying, these are completely out of order. So taking part in crime, none of the officers, serious crime, above fly posting.
A lot of nuance he talked about, a lot of nuance for minor public order matters were okay.
But
it's like drug taking. Drug taking was wrong, but soft drugs, if you needed it for your cover, well, that was okay.
Yeah, that's true. So,
but bad language, there's no nuance on bad language, abusive language actually. Language.
That's true. What were the other things he said that there shouldn't be? Sexual relationships, absolutely out of order. That's as we know, they were absolutely rife in this unit. And they clearly had a policy of don't ask, don't tell. We don't want to know about that, because if we know about that, we've got to do something. And when they did know about it, which is quite clear they did know about it, we're going to cover it up. And we're not going to put it on paper.
No.
So a lot of these reports are basically, what's the word? I don't know, fake on what was really going on.
There was quite a lot of reports. He was earlier asked about, like, on the telephone, phoned in reports, he would differentiate between things that an officer had witnessed themselves or things they'd heard about and the difference between them. And he was asked, did you do the same thing with the written reports? He went, well, no, not as much really. The written reports, he would sit down, if there was any concerns about the tone or the style or the grammar, he would sit down with the officer, correct them, but otherwise he saw no need really to edit the reports too much. So we got the situation where a lot of these reports, which are full of information that's not really of any great interest to anybody,
there's some
There's
some quite personal stuff about people that might even be 90% made up, but as we heard yesterday, they wanted dirt on people or to put down in writing about their vulnerabilities. These reports get passed to security service and to the ordinary police units, and then these people with vulnerabilities can be targeted to become informants. And what he wasn't asked yesterday, but he should have been, and he should be asked today. The next docker was yesterday. The next question is, how would these people's vulnerabilities be used to pressurise them to become informants? I.e., they were blackmailing people when they knew that they may have covert homosexuality, which they didn't want the world to know, or they had mental health issues, or whatever it was, or they were very young.
I think we're about to restart. Just quickly, there were two other things. We've seen a lot of reports where there's a lot of pejoratives being used, quite insulting language about people, lots of detail, just slagging them off. According to HN109, is that he's I didn't sign that. But essentially, he accepts that it was fair enough. Unprofessional, but it happened all the time. Nobody issue with it. Another thing is that there was a lot of reports on MP speeches at public meetings. And he says this is important because there's a public order dimension to what can be said in these speeches. He's on no issue with reporting on MPs. Now, supposedly, you're not meant to do that, but he was.
I had a great long full
page.
There
was also a great deal of
Ken
reports.
Livingstone's speech.
There's a whole bunch of legal professional privilege that's been reported on, and he's put to him, was this a concern? Wasn't a concern at all. Now he sees it should be a concern. Then we were shown another piece of legal professional privilege. He goes, well, that one's all right because this is important, because it's literally the conversations that took place between two men in a prison cell about their trial. Their trial, because they're being held on remand. Well, this is useful for the trial. Didn't seem to understand that equally was covered by legal professional privilege. I mean, once again, it shows these officers don't know the law when it comes to these very specific things, which they're trampling all over. We should go back in. It's about to start off again. Thanks for joining. See you at the end. I'll do a better video with sound, hopefully. Cheers.